see. Okay. So we cut, and I already had the answer in my head. All right, guys, the second question is, you know, Sean, you're talking about scaling, and it's twofold. You have to increase your rates on the one hand, but then on the other hand, you have to have predictable monthly income, and you're talking about retainers. The question then came, you know, what is a retainer? What's included in a monthly retainer? Now, there's probably a million different ways you could package up a retainer agreement. I'm just going to let you know the way we typically do it at Butler. So for us, when we first started, we were a creative studio. So we didn't have marketing as a service. We were doing websites and graphic design. Those were the two primary services. And so the route we chose to do was to add marketing as a third type of service, and that's what we would package up to be able to produce that recurring, predictable income. And so what a marketing retainer for Butler looks like is a client pays us a specific amount for a chunk of time. And so our current standard hourly rate is $150 an hour, and so if somebody comes to us for to maybe update a website or to add some verbiage to a brochure or to do any kind of random medial service task, our hourly rate is typically $150 an hour. So this isn't when we're doing projects; it's basically when we're just doing service. So it's $150 an hour. So for our retainer clients, what we do is we reduce our hourly rate to $100 an hour if they commit to buying blocks of time. And so let's just say we have a 20-hour minimum. So at the minimum, it's $2,000 a month, and they buy up to 20 hours. And a lot of people ask, the very first question is, what if you don't use all 20 hours? And is there rollover hours? Do you save those up? And the answer is no. We don't have rollover hours, because think about it, if we spend 15 hours, and so there's 5 hours left in the month. Do we roll that over to where the next month they get 25, or we reduce it? No, that's not predictable. It's not sustainable. And the client is still saving money, because remember, we're reducing our hourly rate to $100 an hour. If we spent 15 hours, they would have spent $2,250. So they're saving $250 by having a retainer, even though we spent less time. And so the answer is no, we don't have rollover hours. So what if you spend 10 hours? Well, that's a mistake on your end. So what you're gonna have to do is predict how many hours are you gonna reasonably spend for a client in a particular month. So you should, during the strategy phase, this is after you've conducted a level of discovery, about how many hours of work you're going to be able to do on a consistent basis for that client. You have to estimate that, and then the goal is to try to fill that up. Then the next question is, okay, well, what if you go over hours? What if you spend over like 25 hours, or maybe we're on a 50-hour retainer and we spend 60. So the way we structure that agreement is to where if we're going to spend up to 50 hours of work, of services, but if we go over that, it's only because you have requested it or you have approved us to go over, and then it goes back up to the standard hourly rate of $150. There's two reasons why we do that. We want to we kind of allocate our time to be filled up with that month with about that many hours for that particular client. And so if we have to do more hours because the client is requesting more things, it throws off our process. And so we're trying to keep them at the amount of hours that we agreed to. The second reason is because if it's a consistent thing to where we're constantly going over hours, then it's incentive for the client to increase their retainer. So if every month for the last 5 months, you've been going, we've been doing 5 extra hours at your request because we had all these other projects, I suggest we up our retainer to 60 hours to give you a little bit of buffer. It's going to save you some money, and we get to do a lot more creative things. And so it allows you the opportunity to increase your monthly predictable income. And so there's 2 reasons why you want to do that. And then the third question is, okay, well, what's all included in the retainer? So we answered, what if you use less? What if you go over? Well, what is all included? You're saying you're spending 50 hours spent doing what? And that is going to change from agency to agency, from studio to studio. So what looks like a retainer for me isn't necessarily going to look the same for you. And so for us at Butler, we have a full service marketing team. So we have graphic design in-house, content writing, digital marketing, videography, photography, web development. So we're able to do basically anything under those services for our clients. And each client has a custom set of services and work that we're doing for them. So, and I'll save kind of the specifics of that for the next video.